So just a quick check-in with you guys. Is there a question regarding what we talked about yesterday? Yes.
With the attached spirit, where does it come in? What is it? Is it a predator or a victim?
No, no, neither. We will talk about that in absolute great depth in module 4, and we will also work with it. And I show you how to work with these circumstances that you might find. It's quite common actually, so it's more often than you think. Yeah. So you have to wait, Rosemarie.
I have another question.
Yeah, go.
The other question. The other question would be with adopting. So in a way, it would be fine if you just foster a child instead of adopting.
Yeah, so you would cause no imbalance in the family system when you would just foster a child, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as this child has parents.
Living parents.
Or one parent or a grandmother or grandmother, somebody, close family member who could care for the child. As long as that is the case, then fostering would be the least impact in the family system.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good question. So, okay. Do you have anything, Janet, that you want to talk about?
I do not.
That's okay. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to start now. First of all, I mute you so we don't have any background noises. And then I will show you the charts for today. So here we go. Today, as just put in gallery view. Today, oh, by the way, Rosemary, did you know how to deal with gallery view? Yeah, there is. I just realized sometimes the computer is putting the gallery view into a small box, and you don't see everyone. You can drag. There's a white arrow in the box. You can drag that open, and then you have all screens, all videos there, all faces. In case, yeah, when the others come in, you might not see everyone. Okay, so welcome to part 2 of the hang on, here she is. So we just wait for Farah. Hi.
Hi, sorry, my sitter bailed on me, so I've just got my hands full.
Yeah, I can
hope it's okay.
imagine
I'm not
how
alone.
that
I have
is.
my daughter in the room because there's no one else.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's been hectic.
Oh, I know. No, don't worry.
Everyone.
Hey. Good, and it's no problem at all. We were just in this second starting with teaching content. So welcome to part 2 of the first module, the second orders of love. So the second order of love is described as who comes first. It's just we have yesterday found out who belongs to the family system, and now we need to know in which order the family member belong to the family system, because only when they have in a family constellation been able to go in their own time through their own movements towards the right order, then balance is achieved and healing is enabled for the family soul. So what are we looking at? We are looking at the order of precedence, which is a translation from German called Ursprungsordnung. We are looking at the order in patchwork families. This is, of course, something that comes up a lot nowadays. It is more the rule then the exemption that families living in patchwork situations. Then we are looking also at the orders of organization. So that's today's topic as well. And we are talking about, and we start with that, we are talking about family constellation and phenomenology. So has anybody heard this word phenomenology? Yeah? No? Yes, you have, Farah? Okay. How would you describe that, Farah?
I think I would describe it as the study of the everyday. So the things that happen on a very natural basis and then unpacking that.
That's great. I like this definition. Yes. So there is the definition is the study of things as they appear in our experience. So exactly what you said, right? As opposed to the study of things that that like mathematic formulas or physics formulas that you don't see as they appear. You're just studying theory and then you try to prove it. The phenomenology is you study things as they appear and then you draw your conclusion. And why is this important for us? Because this is the way Bert Hellinger has developed family constellation. So it is a scientific approach, yeah. It is not, it has nothing to do with mystics or intuition or anything like this. This is a very, very scientific approach. And he had a lot of help also from biologists and from genealogists. They all have helped him, and of course, psychology professionals. So they all have contributed to this modality of family constellation. What you are studying here with me is grounded in real experience that has been proven over and over again to always come to the same result. And that is the phenomenology. You're finding similarities by studying the things as they appear, yeah? And then let's say something you are looking at it, you're looking at something and like how two people behave, and then you look at other, like say a couple, just something very simple. You're sitting in a cafe, and in the cafe there are 10 tables, and at each table is a couple. And they have different ages and they maybe have different genders, whatever, it's all different, right? And then you start to observe them, yeah, how they communicate. And then you notice that one is always communicating and the other is always listening. I mean, I make this up, right? This is just an example. So you're looking at the first table and you think, oh, the one is always saying something and the other one is always kind of nodding or reacting to it, right? And then you look at the next table and you find it also this one is always dominant in communicating and the other is always dominant in receiving the communication. And so you observe that on every and each of the 10 tables. And then you draw the conclusion. When a couple is communicating, one is always the one who is dominating the communication, and the other one is normally the one who's receiving. That is a scientific way to find a rule for something you have observed, yeah, over and over again. So then this becomes a rule. In family constellation, Bert Hellinger has used this way to find his orders of love. So he has seen in hundreds of family constellations what heals the family wound when which members are standing in which orders. And it was always the same. And now he has said, okay, this is now the rule. We can safely say that the orders of love, in this case, the orders of precedent, follows this A, B, C, D, E rules. And this is his gift to us. Yeah, that he has gifted us these rules that we can apply in family constellation and guarantee to help. Then the next step is to test the rules. So now let's say, come back to our silly example with the coffee table conversation of the couples. you would now test the rule. You would now ask friends or acquaintances who are couples to sit in front of you and start a communication. And then you would see if your rule is correct, because you would now expect that one is dominant communicating and the other one is answering and receiving the communication. And you would test it. And then you would find out, oh, indeed, it is exactly like this. It happens all over again, every single time. Now you know this is a scientific approach, that this is actually true. Like, this is the reality of your observation that now becomes a rule. And he has tested in his family constellations as well. He has then, when he found these orders of love, the first order of love, which was belonging, so he would have tested in the family constellation. He would have not included people who were excluded, and the family's representatives of the family members were not happy with that. Yeah, until the one who was excluded was included. Now, this is how he has found the first orders of love we talked yesterday about, the orders of inclusion, or the first order of love. And now we are looking at the second order of love today, which is the order of precedence, who comes first. The academic approach, you might know or might not know, that I just briefly mentioned, that is exactly the opposite. You are sitting there and you are coming to a thesis. A thesis is something you have thought about. It is going on here, right? You have studied a certain way, and then you are formulating a thesis. And then you are writing the thesis down, and it sounds good, and it follows logic, and it follows all findings in the field you had before. And now you have the thesis, and now you have to prove that the thesis is correct. So you have to have study groups, and then you have to see if you see this is a group. So the second step to test the rules is quite similar, but the start is not similar. It is from theory, while the phenomenology is from practical, from what you see, from what you really see. Because now we all know, meanwhile, or most of us know, that reality is formed by our expectations, right? So if you have a thesis, chances that you can prove it are great, right? Because you're expecting it to be right. But when you are following the phenomenology, you have no expectation. You are pure observing. So the phenomenology is even more accurate than the classic academic approach, right? Any questions towards for this so far? Okay. Okay, let's go into the orders of precedence, or the second order of love. We can also call it the order of birth, which is so la because we are also including the unborn children. So don't forget about them if we say the order of birth, right? It's more the order of conception or something. So we are starting with the mother. And I tell you right away, Bert Hellinger would start with the father. He always started with the father. But I remind you, he was quite old school, obviously, right? And it was absolutely undoubted until probably the last 30 years in the Western world that the man is providing for the family. Like, that was just the case, right? And who was providing for the family came first. However, this has changed. A lot of women are providing for the family, often on their own. And I like to put the mother first, because life comes from the mother, and the mother is normally also the most important person in our life. And she comes up in family constellations much more than the father, right? Just like, if I just count how often mother comes as opposed to father, then I have to say mother comes at least twice as much. Yeah. So the mother is for us the most important relationship, and I would like to talk about the mother first. Then is the father. As I said, you can also swap that around. That is not like they are equal, obviously. So it's not that father or mother comes first. It's just the way we talk about them. But certainly after mother and father, now the children come later, obviously, no? Because they need the mother and father to be adult enough to be able to conceive a child. So if you think of the order of birth, mother and father come, and then the children. Now within the children, there's also an order. That is also the order of birth. That these are the siblings, and we're always looking not only at birth but also at conception. Who has been conceived first comes first. This is very, very simple. There is absolutely no. The only confusion comes when a younger sibling behaves as or carries more weight on their shoulder, or behaves like the more mature one in the family, or the parents put a later born child into charge of something that normally would be the firstborn be put into. This is causing imbalances. That is a violation of the second order of love. And we see this over and over again in family constellation. However, when I teach you about the orders of love, that does not mean that life needs to be like this. Don't mix that up. This is not like, how can I put it, like a medicine, how to lead a happy life. Life meant to be chaotic. Life meant to be individual. Life meant to have all quirks you can ever think of. Yeah. This is not a problem as such, but when it becomes a problem, somebody is suffering from a disease or from mental problems, or somebody is suffering successlessness or anything like this. If suffering is present and then the family constellation is revealing a violation of the second orders of love, then the soul, the family soul, wants to hear that through applying the order of a soul level. Yeah. Meaning, when you say you are the youngest child of 3 and both of the older siblings want to do things the parents, they have a retail, and both of the older siblings don't want to carry on with the retail, just as a matter of example, and then the youngest child is put in place, and that's the only family wealth it's just the retail. Yeah. Then this is a violation of the second order of love. Yeah. Although everybody is agreeing to it, what is missing is when they are not agreeing to it, when there is no exchange, and we will talk about that also tomorrow, for the extra duty the youngest child is carrying on there must be an exchange for that. And if this is forgotten, then an imbalance occurs, and then a suffering occurs, maybe not in the siblings, but maybe in child or a grandchild of the siblings, right? So that's what we then see, phenomenology, we see that in a family constellation. This is the second order of love, and we will go through that in greater detail. Adoption, we briefly talked about that, is also what we have to find out, in which order, in case the adopted child belongs to the family system, in which order this is. And then we also have to include the missing children in the right order. Then we have to talk where the grandparents come in, and the ancestors, of course. So let's start with the mother. First of all, I would like you to introduce your mother to us. So please bring the photo if you don't have it there. And then we start. I'm happy to briefly start and show you how that goes. So I have my mother here. Can you see her? Yeah. I recently bought some glasses that are exactly like hers. Isn't that funny? The field. So this is my mother. Her name is Ingeborg. She passed away about over 10 years ago. Um, she was in her late 80s. She was very severely ill for most of the last 20 years or so. She was very strong. She made it quite far with all this. Our relationship was difficult. Um, we were very different, very different. So at one stage, my mother told me I must, be put in her nest like a cuckoo's bird, like from another star or something like that. So having said that, um, through my work with family constellation, in my training and in the workshop and all this hundreds of hours I have been in this energy of Bert Hellinger's workshops, I worked a lot with the mother, and that completely changed our relationship. So I was very much at peace when she passed away, and I hope she was too, but that's not my responsibility neither. So for me, it was really, really good, everything. So that's my mother. Who wants to go next? Well, you all have a go. Doesn't matter. Okay, Rosemary, you go. You just have to unmute yourself. To press the mic button. Just press the mic button on your yeah, here you go.
Now you hear me, hey?
Yep.
Can you hear me? I had to dig out a photo album, and let me see.
Yeah, here she is.
And we look quite similar. Once I was...
What's her name?
Alice. Alice, yeah. And she was born in 1936, and she passed away 34 years ago.
Oh, she was young.
Yeah, yeah. And we look really more or less the same. And once I was in another country, and suddenly someone saw me. They walked up to me and they said, "You're one of these siblings." To be honest, I've never ever seen the person, and she was right.
Yeah.
So, and she was very good fun. She was my best mate, to be honest. And when I was young, I should be dating. Dating did bore me, to be honest. I like to go out with my mother. It sounds terrible.
Well,
and I think she was always very cheerful, but at the end, I think too much happened in her life. And yeah, I think she gave up, and she just passed away.
No reason for it.
No, not really.
Because she was young, wasn't she?
It was like our youngest, we were 3 siblings, and the youngest one was 20. With 20, you are, in a way, it's like the 21st birthday. You're fully accepted in the society. You are not, you don't need a foster parent or whatever. And as soon as the youngest one was 20, she deteriorated.
Oh, yeah.
But also my father passed away when more than 40 years ago. So she was a widow quite young with young children. So it's...
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you very much for introducing, what was the name again?
Alice.
Alice to us. Alice. Thank you. Okay, who's next? Yes, Rim, please.
I don't have a photo of my mom alone. So this is my mom. Her name is Amina. And yeah, for the longest time, I think I didn't have the best relationship with mom. Like I grew up angry at her for no reason, although she's the sweetest, kindest person you'll ever meet. And I think that after like doing a couple of constellations and her showing up, obviously, all the time. I realized that I resented how she gave up her life for us. Like she used to be a journalist, she had her independence, she used to travel, drive, like she was like, you know, the woman that I want to be. But then she just decided to give it up all when my little sister was born with Down syndrome, and she decided to stay at home and look after her. And I look now at her life where like she doesn't have friends, doesn't go out. We are her life, and I'm scared of becoming that. But then I came to terms that that makes her happy. She's content, she's happy that she's got us around us, just around her. Just because this is not what I want, it doesn't mean that that's not what her wants and what makes her happy. And like somehow I got over my resentment and my fear of becoming her, and I just, there's just love now. It's just love. So I'm grateful for all the constellations that we've done, and I think yeah, she's our relationship as well has become way much better. Like we don't argue as much. She just most of the time accept me and my decisions as they are, and she surprised me. Like sometimes she's like, yeah, okay, go have fun. I'm like, oh, she just say that without arguing with me. So yes, that's my mom.
Thank you so much for introducing her to us. And I think I met her lately on
Yes,
Zoom.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
She is
So
full
you
of
know what I'm
life.
talking about.
She's full of life.
Yes,
I
yes,
totally understand. And thank you for sharing how much your relationship has already changed with the constellations we did, because this is the most important relation we have. And this is really a focus point in the healing process to work with the mother relationship. Often it's normally not done with one constellation, so she
Yeah.
comes up often in different scenarios, and there's always another step one can take as a daughter or as a son towards the mother. And it is indeed, and then it does change. The reality around you does change with it a lot. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Ray. Okay, who's next? Janet or Farah? Janet, you want to go?
Okay, so this is my mother, and her name is Bertha. Okay, so she's sorry. My mom is 41, and growing up with her, it was hard. Like I never had a good relationship with my mom. She did, like I have three other siblings, my two little brothers and my older sister that's 25. And I believe it was just very hard. Like she did a lot for us. She was a single mother, and I was always the kid jumping in and helping my mom, motivating her, pushing her. She went through a lot of sickness, and growing up, she always wanted the best for me and my brothers. So I was more like the helping her and making sure me and my two little brothers were safe. And it's been very hard because I don't have my mom. I haven't seen her in a year, and I haven't been able to fix our relationship. And I feel like I'm like so close to mom. I'm really close to mom that, like, even though whatever happened in the past, like I feel her very close, and I'm like so emotional like all the time. And just talking about mothers right now, like, oh my gosh, it's gonna touch me. But yeah.
Thank you for sharing, Janet. So you don't need to see your mother to work on your relationship. The good thing is about family constellation, it works without your mother being present or even knowing about it. So be assured throughout the course you will have ample opportunities, to meet your mother on a soul level and get closer to her, and establish a bond on another level, on a healing level.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, Farah. Can you unmute yourself? I can't do that for you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just realized I was on mute.
Yeah.
That's a picture of my mom.
Okay, can you sharpen that for us? A bit
Yeah.
blurry.
Sorry.
A bit blurry. Try it again. Here she goes. Yes. Beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's a picture of her when she was younger with the both of us. So my mom, she's a single mom, and she's raised me alone my whole life. I think she left my when I was barely a month old. And I think she was like my best friend growing up, and she's still one of the closest people to me even till today. She recently kind of moved in with me, so she spends half her time with me as well. And I think a conflict as well growing up and even till today, because it's hard to draw boundaries when you're so close to someone, and then at the same time she's playing the role of a siblings and she doesn't have a husband. I also feel like I have to play the role of someone who's protecting her and supporting her. And I think but I like to think that we still have a very good relationship. I think a lot of the people around me often say that, wow, so I was like that. So I feel very blessed that I have that relationship with her. Yeah, she recently lost her father, and since then she's kind of going through a rough patch. Not sure. I've been trying to help her with it, but it seems like the more I try to help her, the more I push her.
So
figure out what's going.
Something is not quite right with your connection. You were breaking up quite a lot, but I think we kind of got everything more or less. And thank you very much for sharing. There is definitely.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, the moment better. Yeah. So it's beautiful to hear that, and it's also in a way you will see when we went through today's teaching content that a relationship can be quite harmonious in outside. That does not mean that there is not work to do on the soul level. Now I'm not sure if I lost you or not. Maybe I have. No, I can see you moving. Okay. Do you hear what I'm saying or we are saying? Is that all
I
clear?
heard you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the most important thing. Okay. So thank you very much. So now I would like to introduce you to a quote from Bert Hellinger. Success has mother's face. Why would he say that? What do you think?
Actually, I'm surprised. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you go, Rim. Yeah.
I thought the father is the door to the world. Like he is our access to the world. So I thought the father is responsible for success. So I'm really surprised by this. I have no interpretation.
Very good. Very good. It's good to surprise you. I'm happy with that. Yeah, it is not the father, it's the mother. When you're suffering or when somebody is feeling unsuccessful in life, in relationships, in business, money, everything that is enriching your life, yeah, the source of it is not taking the mother fully. There is a resentment by accepting the mother exactly how she is. And often, and this is what happens in family constellation, when this issue comes up, uh, and you work with a business or you work with a partner or whatnot, right? You're totally missing the point if you're not putting the mother in there too. Everything will change, every single thing. And we will practice that, of course, right? So you will see it. Phenomenology. I don't want you to believe anything what I say. Yeah. It's everything you can perceive for yourself. Did you raise your hand, Rosemary? Was that a question? No, yes, no?
It was not a question. It was, I think a mother gives you self-esteem. I think, for example, my mother gave me all my strength. In a way, I remember when I was 5 years old or even younger, I came home and some boys, they take my, I think, teddy bear or doll apart, and I was crying. And then my mother said, okay, now you go to their place, knock at the door and tell their mother. I was 5 years old. You see, she could say, I will ring them. This is not correct. And I did that. And I was, since then, I always looked after myself. She taught me that.
Very good. Wonderful. That's a very good lesson. Yes, you are correct. The mother is the one who is giving us the nutrition to live a full life. Yeah. It's all about the nutrition that comes from the mother, which is in fact food, but it's also love and self-esteem and all kinds of other attributes you can think of that makes you feel strong and makes you feel you got a place in life. You can stand up for something. This is because you are well nourished by the mother. But it is not the mother's fault if it doesn't happen. Guess what? It's always the child. And we will go through that when we go through the interrupted movement towards the mother, but we will touch that all the time because it comes up all the time. Yeah. This is why Bert Hellinger said success has mother's place. When there is an issue and somebody is coming with an issue not being successful in any walks of life, wherever, instead of making a big constellation about the business or the partner or whatever was the question there, he just puts up the mother. Shortcut. That was a new family constellation, right? Just shortcut. Right? And that is where it starts and that is where it ends. Yeah. So the bond from a mother to the child is very special because it starts already in the womb of the mother. They are sharing the fluids of the mother. The mother's nourishing through the umbilical cord the child, and it's also carrying the child around. It's giving warmth. It's talking to the child, and this is causing a very deep bond between mother and child that simply the father doesn't have. I don't have the chance to have that. This is also why when we are pushing our mother away for good reasons that we might come up in the life of a child, this is also blocking us not only from the nourishment and love of the mother, but it's also blocking us in later life from everything that stands for abundance and success. So you always fell short when you have this experience with your mother in young years. And I'm not saying that that is anybody's fault. It is what it is. It is circumstantial. Yeah. But the good thing is, the good news is, this is brilliantly cleared by family constellation. No. Even if the mother has passed away, that doesn't matter. The death doesn't matter. The death of a person doesn't matter. So, and she doesn't need to know it. She doesn't need part of it. She doesn't need to be there. So, and that is honoring. It's also for the children. It's to honor this bond, because this is what brought life. That what our life experience, regardless in which life circumstances we find ourselves in this very moment, life is still precious. No, and the life comes mainly from the mother. Of course, the father has created life too, same. But then she was carrying out the life. She made sure that you are successful by being born. So that is the first success. Yeah, it comes from the mother. Successfully going through the birth process. And then the bond continues, and the bond doesn't stop just because the child grows up. The bond will always be there. And it is very, very healthy to honor the bond, when the child is honoring the bond. And it is a very, very hard thing to do for many people, because they have stories in their head about what the mother should have done or said, or stories that the child decides how the mother should be, to be good enough. And that is the biggest obstacle for the individual to get nourished by the mother bond, because they are cutting themselves off of it by the stories, by judgments, resentments, small, sometimes big. And we will see over the whole course that this is not so. The mother is not doing anything wrong. Impossible. Because the simple fact that you are still alive proves that she did everything right. Because that was her only role, was to bring you up and secure your life. Everything else is up to you. And when the childhood was hard, then that was destiny. Many people are very successful because they had a hard childhood, and not many people are successful because they had a very good childhood, like a very, wealthy childhood. That doesn't guarantee anything, right? So often it is better to go through some, like Rosemary just shared, go through some adversities, stand up for yourself, and, claim your space. The expectations are different from a child to the mother and the mother to the child. The mother's expectations, and I'm talking about a soul level here, not necessarily what is like, what you see in reality. So what the soul expects, no? The mother's expectation is that the child is happy, that it lives a fulfilled life, even though the life is hard, maybe, and cumbersome, but it's still fulfilled, like still honoring life as a gift that comes from her. Yeah. And not so the worst thing that can happen is a suicide, of course, throwing this life away. Yeah. That is very, very hard for the mother. Very, very hard. So, of course, also for the father, but at the moment we're talking about the bond with the mother. So this is a strong bond that is naturally there, and nobody does anything for it. It is not, it cannot be other than this bond. It also doesn't matter if the birth was a cesarean section, or if the child has been given away after birth and been adopted. That does not matter. On a soul level, that does not matter. The nourishment still comes from the mother who has given birth, not from the adoptive mother. She does the day-to-day care, but the soul is not nourished by her. The soul is nourished by the original mother, right? And she will always be there and nourish. Her soul has agreed, in the moment she has given birth to a child, she agrees to nourish it. She cannot not do it. right? The child does just need to receive it, be open to it, and not be closed up by closed heart, by expectations, by resentments, by hatred. My mother has given me away. No, this is closing the heart, and then the love, the nourishment cannot flow. No. And so this child is also, as an adult, cutting itself off of life until hopefully they find a family constellation facilitator who knows of the orders of love. Yeah. And then there is light at the end of the tunnel. So there's a specific dynamic between mothers and daughters and mothers and sons. If we are looking at the mother and daughter dynamic, which is all we are familiar with, obviously, then there can be so there's similarities often. No, you look exactly like your mother, and probably other people telling you that, and you maybe never have really noticed, no? And there is also because you are playing the same role, if you will, in the family, being a female, yeah. There's a similarity as well, maybe even a little bit of jealousy sometimes, or some competition. Some daughters think they are the better wives for their fathers than the mother. We see a lot of those in family constellation. No? Some are like you said, are stepping into the mother's role and helping with the siblings, right? So this is typical for, like Janet said, this is typical for the daughter-mother relation. These are all issues that can come up, and they will, if they cause suffering, be part of a family constellation. Now, what is about the mother and son? This is often an easier relationship because these crossovers and similarities are normally not there so much, not in the foreground. But the sons are often carrying more than the daughters because they are either so when there are resentments of the mother against the father, then it's often that the son is carrying that, yeah. Or when the mother had a let's say a romantic relationship before the father that she always regret not to have continued, often the son becomes a substitute for this partner, right? And all these dynamics are causing suffering because they are against the orders, the second order of love. Because the son is just a child that came later and is, when you think of the stream of love, is here while the mother is there, and the love from mother flows to son and not the other way around. Yeah. So this, if this order is not obeyed, no, because the son is put in the position of a partner, for example, in a lack of its own partner, when the mother lacks, has the need for a partner and puts the son there instead, then this will cause suffering. Maybe not in the son, maybe not in the mother, but probably in one of the grandchildren. And then hopefully this child goes, when it's adult, to a family constellation, and then this can be cleared. Yeah. There's a dynamic also, we will talk about that in module 3 or tomorrow, or in module 2 or 3. I have to think about it, but definitely part of the training, that there is a dynamic when a child is representing a former partner of either the father or the mother. That can happen. It is a quite common dynamic when this partner was not acknowledged. The former partner who made space for the new partner with whom they have a child, and the child is the one who, whose life depended on the former partner to make space. Because otherwise it would never have been born. And this is most often same sex. So let me think about that. The daughter would represent an ex-partner of his father, of her father, right? Or the son would be entangled with an ex-partner of his mother. So this is most often how you see it. I actually have never seen it in another, but I'm not saying it's not possible, but that's normally what you see. So then you have the mother's love, you have the need for the mother, you have the mother's nourishment, the mother's care. She's protecting you, she's feeding you, she's warming you, she gives you everything you need to grow up. But then there is this point of the letting go, right? And the letting go from the mother is in 2 stages. The first stage is already when she gives birth to you. Because the process of giving birth is the letting go of this very, very, very close first bond in the womb of the mother, which is like a little bit like dying for the child. So the child and the mother, they have let go from each other through the process of giving birth. That's the first letting go. And then the letting go is continuing because of the strong bond between mother and father, mother and child. It is really important that this process of letting go is supported. And sometimes you have a family constellation where you have to support this letting go process. That does not mean that the love of the mother is stopping or that you're not receiving it anymore. That's not the letting go. It's not the letting go of the love of the mother. It's the letting go of the bond of the mother, right? So to be successful and then able to live your own life. Then we have a very important dynamic, which we call the interrupted movement towards the mother. It is a little bit of a mouthful. In German, it's not such a mouthful. It's called unterbrochene Hinbewegung. And we will go step by step through this in module 4. I just want to mention it because this is how we heal disturbances or rocks in the river of the bond between mother and child. Because the interrupted movement towards the mother is most likely an early childhood trauma that can be healed with this methodology. There are actually some, who knows Irina Prekov? Anybody heard Irina Prekov? She was, I think, Russian. She was very famous. She was a psychotherapist, I think she was. But she created the therapy by holding tight. Have you ever heard of that? A therapy where you hold the child or the adult really, really tight for a long period of time, 30, 40 minutes. Yeah. Okay. So when you're interested, I'm sure you can read that somewhere. Maybe there are YouTube videos. She must be quite old by now, but this is quite similar. And Bert Helling has actually done that because he has studied with her in the 80s or in the 70s or what. And he liked in family constellations, sometimes he was representing the mother in person. And he was then doing these holding tight with the client, which is similar to the interrupted movement towards the mother family constellation that we would perform in this case. Okay, so what else? Yes, now we have an exercise. Yay! So, oh, you don't see that. Why not? Why is it not coming up on the screen? No, hang on. Why did it not come up? Here we go. So what is mother's love? What is children's love? We will do an exercise now. And the exercise is, we are working in groups of 2. I will assign you to breakout rooms. and one is representing the mother and the other is representing themselves. And then you swap. So I make an example. Yeah. If Rosemary and Janet are working together in the group, then in the first half of the session, Rosemary would represent Janet's mother. And I tell you exactly how to do that. And then you would swap. I would put the timer on, and then would Janet represent Rosemary's mother. Yeah. And what I would like you to, and of course in the group, Reem and Farah as well, same. Right? You have 5 minutes. That's a 10-minute exercise. And how do you, this is a family constellation. Do you represent yourself? Your partner is representing your mother. And I would like you to open your heart towards your mother and just take in whatever flows from her. Yeah. So there are no words, nobody's saying anything. Yeah. You look your mother in the eyes, and when that is hard to do, then you go on your knees in your room. Yeah. Still able to see your screen. Yeah. So you look up. That is easier then. Yeah. To look your mother in the eyes. Okay. Any questions for this exercise? Good. Awesome. All right. So let's do the breakout rooms. So you will, in case you have not worked in breakout rooms yet, there will appear in a few minutes, there will just appear something like, what is appearing? I don't know the wording really. Go to your breakout room. You have to click yes or something like that, right? So to go there. Okay. I let it assign automatically, so we don't know who's with whom. Surprise. And all rooms are open. And I put the time on.
Why am I here? Why am I not here? Why am I not? I can't hear.
All good now? Okay. So tell me all about it. How was the exercise for you? Who wants to start to share? Farah, you go.
Can you hear me?
You have like, it's breaking up when you talk, but when you continue to talk, we might understand what you say.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think when I was with Rosemary, when I was playing the role of the mother, initially I felt very overwhelmed, like I started tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt, I don't know what word I would use, a sense of protection, a very overwhelming sense of protection.
Mm-hmm.
And almost it's a very fierce protection, like a
Mhm.
strong protection. And then in the later half, it melted away into warmth and pride.
Mhm.
And I felt like I stopped tearing up so much, and I felt like the need to smile more. And then when we swapped, I felt like I could not connect. Rather, I just felt like I wanted to get closer and closer and closer to the screen, almost as if I could just jump into where Rosemary was, you know. That's when searching and yearning a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was how it was. But it was definitely a very overwhelming experience when I played the role of the mother.
Oh, very good. And how are you now? Good. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Very good. Very good. I can see the exercise was very good for you. Rosemary, how about you?
I felt when, I don't know, how do you pronounce your name? Farah. When she was my mother, I felt undivided attention.
Mhm.
And then in a way, later on, I felt more relaxed, I think, being her mother,
Mhm.
more like kindness, love.
Mhm.
Yeah, in a way, like hugging. Yeah,
Very good. Wonderful. Very good.
thank you.
Thank you for sharing. And how is it about you, Rain?
Yeah, when I was represented Janice's mother, I felt anxiety was building in.
Mhm.
Like slowly, like my hands were clutching, and I felt like I have a burden. And eventually, towards the end, I felt like it was hard to keep an eye contact. I felt like I want to look out of the window.
Mhm.
But there was definitely love. But it just felt like it was burdened, I think.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, very good. Interesting. And when you were yourself?
Just content. I was just like happy to just keep looking at her and be with her.
Mhm. Thank you. Thank you, Rain. And Jeanette, how it was for you?
For me, it was like very intense,
Mhm.
very, I don't know, hard to say, like very, like something very strong on like a lot on my chest.
When you were representing yourself, or when
Mhm.
you were her mother? When you were
When
yourself?
I was representing myself,
Mhm.
but when I was her mother, I felt like very, very happy, very calm. And through the middle of it, I started like I just wanted to look at her. And I started looking at like there was this clear light around her of protection.
Beautiful. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. One more time, Rim.
Yeah, I just wanted to say like it's funny that she used the word heavy chest, because that's when I say burden, that's how I felt. I felt like there's a weight on my chest. So I think
Mhm.
she's feeling your burden, or whatever you feel on your chest, or that way around. I'm not really sure, but that's the burden that I was referring to.
Mhm. Very good. Very good. And as you will see, the first step to any healing is to acknowledging what is. Yeah. So although in this exercise, uh, which is not only an exercise, it's also constellation, obviously. If you feel burdened, or you feel, some weight or something like that, through acknowledging that it is there is already the first step taken. right? To lift it. So very good. Okay, very, very good. Right, we have a few minutes and we will go and introduce our fathers now. So let me share the screen. Oh, no, we don't need the screen for that. I would like you to, or shall I start again? Maybe that is easier for you. So I go in and share the picture of my father with you. Here's my father. His name is Hans. Officially in his passport, his name was Johann, but everybody called him Hans and he thought his name was Hans until he got his first passport. And then he wrote his name and said, "What? Who's that?" And then he realized he's been called a different name all his life. That's a funny story. Now my son is also, first name is also Hans, and then Leander is his name we call him by. So my father was born 1926. He has been called to the Second World War at the age of 17. That was when everything was already lost. So he was sent by foot to Siberia, to Russia, as a 17-year-old boy and got 7 years imprisoned in Russia. Then he has, every time he was talking about it, he was cheering up. He really had a very positive experience there. He made something out of it, and when he came back, he was studying mining because that's what he did there. So he made it his profession because he already learned it there. And he liked the Russians very much. He thinks they were fabulous people. So you can already by this story feel how happy he was and positive, and nothing could really weigh him down. And I really, really adored that in him. And I had a very good relationship to my father. And unfortunately, when he was older, he got Alzheimer's, and it became quite nasty, as it does. But anyhow, he survived my mother by a year. A hard year for him because he was severe Alzheimer, but we still was able to see him and talk to him and see his grandson, and sometimes he, he recognized us. And so, yeah, and then he decided to leave. So that was my father. Who wants to have a go? Rosemary, you?
Yeah, you can hear me, eh? I have a picture of him when he was quite young. Here he is.
Ah, yeah.
And he started farming in Switzerland, and in a way, his father he sold soaps, his father, my grandfather. So it was a big deal for him to buy cows and start milking cows.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the love for the animals I got from him. But he passed away almost 50 years ago. So when I was a child. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't really know a lot about him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but I had a good childhood. There was nothing wrong. Well, maybe he teamed up sometimes a little bit with my elder brother against me. I remember that, with calling me some names, but I don't think it's a bad, well, I didn't really have a trauma about that. I don't think so. But I don't really, I was 10 years old when he passed away, so I don't really know. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for introducing your father to us. Farah, you want to go next?
His name was Paul.
Paul.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice to meet Paul.
I'm not sure if this works. Let's see.
There's one angle where.
There we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, yes, now we see him.
Okay. Thanks. My dad's name, his name is Gulam. He was, I had a rough relationship with him as a child, probably through adulthood. And I think it's improved maybe in the past few years, but I feel like that has a lot to do with the fact that I'm married. Like somehow the dynamics changed. And he feels, or that I have children, like I think he's trying to have a better relationship with his grandchildren. And because of that, our relationship has improved. And with my father, I feel like the less time we spend together, the better our relationship is. So we can't see each other a lot or very often. In fact, now it's still most often I've seen him, but it's because I've stuck to like once every few weeks, or once in 2 months. And he was physically and emotionally and verbally abusive with my mom. He hit her really badly. He was, gambling, drinking, womanizing, the works. So my mom always protected me from that. Like she wouldn't tell me about it. And she would always encourage me to spend time with my dad because she felt that that was the right thing for me to do as a child. But I always hated it. So my relationship with him was pretty bad. And he was always very hurtful and neglectful when I was growing up. And he would say really awful things to me about my mom. But I guess it's a lot better now. And I think I just understand him better, or I forgive him for it. So I'm not angry anymore. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing and introducing the
You're
father
welcome.
to us. Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, Janet, how about you?
Okay, so this is my father.
Hello.
His name is Everardo.
Everardo. Okay.
Everardo. um, so he's 42 years old, and I never met him as a child. All I remember is that my mom told me that, like, as a newborn baby, like my mom had to leave him to save, like, to save my life. And I would ask my mom, like, why, like, how come I didn't have the opportunity to be with him or meet him? And he was just never in the picture due to other things that happened. But I did try and like have contact with him, and it never happened.
Mhm.
So
How did
yeah.
you come to have a photo of him?
I found him on Facebook. So
And you know for sure it's him.
we actually connected, I believe 2 years ago,
Okay.
through Facebook. But after that, I've been trying to try to connect with him again, and it just doesn't work out.
Very good. Well, now he's here with us, and he will greatly benefit from your work. That's for sure. Thank you, Janet. Thank you. Okay, Reem.
So this is my father. His name is Muhammad. And yeah, I've always been daddy's little girl, I think, until now. Like growing up, I think because like my other siblings, he was never there for their birth. So I don't know. Like anyway, I've been always his favorite, and I think I also admire him a lot. I admire the fact that he is self-made man. He came from nothing, literally. Maya, you know the story probably like in details. Um, so it's just I have really high respect and regards for him. Like he didn't do everything right, but now after again Constellation and growing up, like before Constellation, in my head I knew that he did the best he could, but after Constellation my soul also accepted that, and I started to love him as he is with his faults, and not faults, I mean, like, with the decisions that led us where we are now. Like, it just, I don't hate him, I don't have that anger towards him. Yeah, and I think now it's just, our relationship has been the best it has. Like, it's just, again, love. I love him for who he is. And yeah, I'm grateful.
Very good. Yeah, I also met your dad. He is a very impressive man. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Rim, for sharing. Okay, wonderful. So now that your fathers are all with us, let's go and see what dynamics we are normally dealing with when we are meeting fathers in a family constellation. So if you don't see everybody, we have five images. Then you go to gallery view and drag your window open so you can see all of them. Yeah. Okay. So, father. So we have introduced our fathers. Now, like Bert Hellinger says, a father comes first because he secures the system, right? That is old school thinking. So he put the father in the second orders of love, the orders of who belongs, where, or ranking on the right side of the mother, right? So father right, mother left. Phenomenology again, it doesn't matter if the father's providing or not, it does work. So when the father is on the right side of the mother in a family constellation, that brings strength to the family. If the father is on the left side of the mother, that weakens the family. That does not matter, that does not mean that we have to put the father on the right side of the mother to, you know, make the family strong. This is not how it works. It's not voodoo or magic. The souls have to move themselves in order to make this work. And our work is to see what is missing so the souls can move to the right place where they belong. So we are not forcing them to do anything. It's all voluntarily, and it will all happen if we do our work right. This is again how Bert Hellinger has found the orders, that the father comes first, then the mother, and then the oldest, and so on, from right to left through observation. Yeah. So this became the rule. Then, of course, he has also a quote for the father: "Addictions have father's say." Hands up, who has an addiction? Only one, two. I would probably put my hand up too. Okay, Reem, share with us what kind of addiction.
Where do you want me to start?
Very good. Okay.
Like, we don't have that much time. I mean, anything you name it, whether it's food, cigarettes, but cigarettes is actually getting better. I have quit smoking for 1.5 years now. But then, like, there's slippers here and there. I wouldn't say, like, yeah, the others is fine, but I would say mainly them struggling with is food, and still food is struggling with, the smoking is.
Very good. Thank you for sharing. And Farah, what was yours?
Same thing as Reem.
Yeah.
Very emotional connection with my food, and with nicotine, not necessarily cigarettes. I've quit many times in my life.
Yeah.
And then I just steal some here and there. So yeah.
Very, very common. I was a smoker a long time ago as well, and it is true. So addictions, especially cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, not necessarily food. I don't think it's an addiction, actually. I think there's something else going on. We call it an addiction, But definitely cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs are hinting towards an imbalanced relationship with the father. Yeah. And that can have many, many reasons. Again, that doesn't mean that in the reality of how you perceive it, your father is there or not there, happy or not happy, loving or brutal. That's not how it works. It's on the soul level, is how available is the father and how available is the child to receive the love from the father. Yeah. It is the same as with the mother when we say success as mother's faith. In a constellation, when you are working with somebody that has cannot give up smoking or um, alcohol or drugs, it is makes no sense just to have representatives for the drugs and the alcohol and whoever. If you don't bring the father into the picture, no healing will take place. That's another finding of Bert Hellinger. So success has mother's faith and addiction has father's faith. So if you just remember these two things from today's module, you are really good and ahead of the game already. So then we have the relationship from father and son. Obviously, we are not fathers sitting here, so we don't know how it is. But in the orders of love and in Bert Hellinger's system, fathers and son relationship are quite similar to mother and daughter in the end, because there are this similarity and this maybe competition that is going on, and a lot of sons are bowing under the pressure of fathers. That the father wants the son to be as the father or better, right? Have a better life, earn more money, be more successful than he was. So there's this kind of competition in the positive, if you will, a thing going on between fathers and sons. And most sons, they have either the option to follow the path of the father or to dismiss the father and kind of cut the cords and leave that behind, because they can't stand the pressure in this relationship. So this is a very challenging relationship, often the father and son relationship, and the work and family constellation is between father and son, very similar to between mother and daughter. And there can also be this entanglement that the son is entangled with a former partner of the mother, right? So with another male figurine in the family system. Remember, former partners are part of the family system. Yeah. Then we have father and daughter. Now, as I have heard here, often the daughters are more loved by the fathers than the sons, or even if they don't show it that much, because there's not this way of course there's not this expectations and not this competition going on, and often the fathers see in the daughters also their wives, right, the mother. So if that is a good relationship, then there is also a good relationship to the daughters. And then the daughters, they look up to their daddies, and often they want to marry their daddies. Like, I'm sure you have heard that. Maybe you have felt the same. So when you're 5 or 6 years old, that you tell everybody you want to marry your daddy. That is very common, because no, you're not. Anybody else other than me?
I love him. I love him. But for a long time, I resented mom for getting married to dad. I was like, what were you thinking? Like, how did he marry him?
Yeah. Often, however, in the end, the daughter marries a man who is quite similar to the father. So, hands up, who's married? So, let's just ask Rosemary. What do you think? Is there any similarity between your husband and your father? given that you don't know your father that well?
Well, I married the farmer.
Ah, here you go. Yeah.
So I married the
that's-
farmer.
Yeah.
And
Of course, that is already right there.
I always knew that. And this is why when my father passed away and we had to sell the cows, this was very hard for me.
Mhm.
And it was always clear that I will marry a farmer.
Right.
So,
Very good. And well, Sarah, how about you?
I see more similarities between my husband and my granddad, who was
Oh.
the main father figure for me growing up. A lot of
Here we go.
similarities.
Yeah, that's very good. So you're just skipping a generation. That's fine. So you see the similarities. What is the similarities there?
Oh my gosh, it could be physical. They're both tall and handsome, and they're
Mhm.
both they are like the black sheep of their family and make their own life, and the way they are with people, that they're very antisocial, don't like to go for, they're very, very similar. And then they're also very hardworking, very steadfast, very serious with other people, but very warm with their wives. So as I get older and I hear more about my granddad, and as my husband ages, I see more of him reflecting what my granddad was. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yep. That is common. And Reem and Janet, you might will experience that in your future as well.
I'm actively trying to avoid that.
I don't think
Reem,
you
I
can.
actively avoided this too, but
Very good. Very good. Um, so the expectations are from the child towards the father that the father is always there, which is often not the case. So the expectations are then not met. And this is causing very often the first trauma from the child towards the father, right? That the father wasn't there when he needed him. Hmm? You see that in family constellations a lot, that the first interrupted movement towards the father is when the child was left alone because the father, goes to work, travels, whatever. It's not there. Hmm. That's the main expectation. Then the next expectation is from the child towards the father. That is more a subconscious expectation, is that the father brings stability and provides like the backbone of the family, something you can rely on. So if the father is a bit airy-fairy and spends the money on whatever his addictions or his fun, and doesn't provide for the family correctly, then of course his expectations are also not met. So that's another trauma in the child then. There's nothing wrong with expectations. There's nothing wrong to be traumatized. That is just how life is. The good thing is this can all be healed, right? So nothing is, so to speak, damaged forever on the soul level. Yeah, there's always a way, at least with family constellation, to change it. Also, there's a letting go from the father. Some father and children relationship are a little bit based off this traumatic, unfulfilled expectations, or up all the way to hate. Is as strong as a bond to the father as extreme love and dependency. So it's just both sides of one coin, or it's two flip sides of a coin, or two ends of a rope, or however you want to picture it, right? So love in forms of attachment, and hate in forms of denial or resentment is all strong emotions that are bonding. Yeah. So from this bond, process of letting go has to happen as well. And this process of letting go is normally starting not with, you remember with the mother, it was already in the womb by giving birth, and then continuous over the whole time that the mother is present. With the father, it is normally when the children become teenager. That's when they start to let go from the father. That's the letting go. And in many traditions or indigenous folks, there is a ritual for that. It's called an initiation or so, right? That only young men are able to perform. And I think it is anything between 13, 14, 15 years or something like that. And that is an initiation that they have to prove themselves, that they can stand there alone. They were sent in the woods for several days. I don't know, depends on which culture. And then they come back, and then they are officially acknowledged as a man, and they don't need to obey their father anymore. So they have kind of let go. And in a way, this is healthy for the relationship of father and son, I would say. Makes it much easier than the daughters to the fathers or to the mothers, because they don't have this initiation. They don't have this ritualistic way of letting go from the bond, right? So this is also why our relationship to our mother is kind of ongoing, an ongoing matter for us children, right? More than for the son so much. But of course, nowadays and in modern societies and the Western societies, there is not such ritual. So this is then also for the sons different and a little bit more difficult. In a family constellation, of course, you can perform a letting go process if this is needed. That's the beauty of it. You can travel back in time and perform it there with a family constellation, and if that is what is necessary, and heal the family wound there, right there. So what is father's love? What is children's love? That's also what we will exercise. But we do that after the break. So we have a break first, and then we do the same exercise, only that you are not representing the mother, but the father. And it really doesn't matter the gender. When you are representing in the family constellation, that has absolutely no impact, right? So you don't need to think, oh, how can I represent a man? Because this is just what you do. The soul movement will just take place. You don't need to think about it or worry about it or anything like this. Yeah? Okay. So I put the time on. I see you back in 10 minutes. So take a good break and see you soon. It's always changing when we are in breakout rooms. Interesting. So how was this for you? Who wants to start sharing?
Well, maybe me.
Yes.
When Reem was my father, I could see that she was teary, but in a way, I didn't really feel a connection. There was no, from my side, or just a little tingle maybe. But when I was Reem's father, wow, I was so overwhelmed with love. It was so, I think I've never ever felt anything like that.
Wow, wonderful.
And I was so, wow, it just flew. It really nice. Thank you.
Wonderful. See that you can, when you're representing, you can experience emotions you have never ever experienced and will maybe never ever experience in your life. This is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. And Reem, how was you? Yeah.
When I was with her father, it was bittersweet. Like I was happy to see her, but I was sad. I was smiling, but I was tearing at the same time. But then at the end, it just subsided. The tears kind of like slowed down, but I was just like happy to be there. Like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good.
when she was father, just love. Like I just like love him. I was like I couldn't feel the time. But by the way, both times, like, even when I was her father, like as I noticed when I was the mother, the previous exercise, I was keeping my eye on the watch. But like when I was representing her father and was receiving, but I just want to stay there. Like I'm happy to stay there.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Okay, Janet and Farah, how was it with you? Who goes first?
Okay, I'll go. I can go.
Mm-hmm.
So when I represented for how do you say your name, Farah?
Farah, that's right.
Okay. When I represented her father, I felt like this really good connection. I wanted to hug her. Like it was like so like relaxed, like close.
Mm-hmm.
And when she represented my father, it was I did not want to be close at all. I wanted to be far away. And I
Was it
started
when you had your
shutting.
eyes closed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could not, for a moment, I would stare, like I was having a little eye contact, and my eyes closed and like shaped. So
Mm-hmm.
that's when I backed up and I don't feel any connection at all. I feel like abandonment far away from him,
Yeah. Mhm.
like very, very disappointed. Like there's nothing there
Yeah.
at all for me. It was just very hard for me to just keep eyesight. Like I just started slowly, like giving myself permission, but then I just started backing up and eyes shutting down.
Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. Mm-hmm. Farah, did you feel the same when you were her father?
Yeah, I think when I was Janet's father, I think it was, I can't put my finger on it. It felt almost like guilt or shame or,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
probably more like guilt and shame,
Mm-hmm.
and it made me defensive. I
Mm-hmm.
think defensive would be the word.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there'll be moments where it was hard to look, but I still can't. But it was a sense of defense because I felt shame, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And when she was my dad, it was I think I felt like I wanted more of a connection. I wasn't as connected, and then I felt frustrated in like a feeling of like not getting to be loved the way I want to be loved. I don't know if that makes sense. Like a frustration that I'm not getting that what I wanted, and that
Yeah.
just kept coming back
Yeah.
and coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Understand. Yeah. Very good. Thank you for sharing. Wonderful. So this was not only an exercise for the sake of the course, it was also, as you felt it, it was a constellation, which is the first step. If you have not constellated your father and your mother yet, that was already the first two ones that brings you closer um, to your father and your mother. So yay, well done. So we are continuing with the children. Children. So we have mother and father, and then obviously the children come after as a result of mother and father coming together. The children, that is really easy, and there's not much to say. They are in birth order, but the unborn children are also part of the siblings, and they come in when they were conceived. So it's actually the conception order rather than the birth order, if you will, if you understand what I mean. But this is just semantics, so you know what I mean. Who was first come first? That is for the siblings. that is not, that is also for the half siblings. So remember, half siblings have two family systems. I mean, we all have, we can be in several family systems, depends on from which viewpoint we are looking at. So a half sibling is part of your family and also in the order of conception part of your siblings, right? So a half sibling is who has the same mother or the same father, but another other part, right? So they are part through bloodline of the family system, and they just come in wherever they fit in regards to their birth or their conception. Then we have miscarriages and abortion. Same thing. They fit in where they have been conceived. So let's say the first child was aborted, and then the second child was born, and everybody considered the second child to be the oldest or the firstborn. In a family constellation, however, it will become evident that there was one before, that was a first, because the one who is treated as the firstborn is not feeling right. The representative not feeling right. They feel that. They feel it's not their position. And then you bring in a representative for the one who was aborted. And then the first one, who is now the second, is relieved. That's how it works. And that you can clearly see in the constellation. Then you know, even if the mother never told, there was an abortion or miscarriage, often you see what it was as well in the dynamics. And then the system, the second order of love is established. Yeah, because this missing link, this missing family member comes in the right order. And also what is really interesting is when you constellate families with siblings and then you let them place, stand in the way that you're suggesting, and then there is a missing child, and then you let the child choose where to stand in between which siblings, right? And they can try where they feel the best. They can exactly tell you where they belong. Everybody can tell you where they belong. That is very impressive. Yes, Reem, was it a hands up?
Yeah, I'm sorry, like it's my doctor's appointment. I have to leave now. Is that okay?
No worries.
Thank
All
you.
good.
Thank you.
See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow. Bye, Reem. Bye.
Tomorrow.
So with adoption, remember the adopted child does not belong to the family system and also not to their siblings as such. So the birth or the birth date of the adopted child does not play a role when you play siblings. However, the adopted child is part of the family system by destiny and has its rightful place, but that does not need to be when it was born, right? So you have to find out in every family constellation where the adopted child, where it's the rightful place. And it often is not in line with the siblings. It often is a little bit outside of the line of the siblings where it wants to place itself, right? So that's what you see. Then you have special needs and severe disease children, especially if this is from birth or happens in the first 7 years. I just mentioned that here because we're talking about children. When you have a case of this, when a mother comes and with an issue like this, then that is also often to be considered that this is karmic, right? It doesn't maybe come from a previous lifetime that the child is born with this karmic burden. So we can also constellate that, and we will do that. That's not a problem. It's just for you to remember that sometimes in imbalance, especially if you have these severe diseases in very young children, that it could be karmic as well. Now we have the grandparents. Now obviously they came before the parents, so theoretically we should mention them before, but grandparents are normally not coming up all the time. So when do grandparents come up is often in entanglements. Entanglements is this triangular relationship between somebody who is traumatized, then the partner of the traumatization, often victim perpetrator constellation, and then the third person is entangled with either the victim or the perpetrator. And this entanglement is often skipping a generation. So when you're constellating for the one who is the first generation, remember the black figurine in our little animation, then the entanglement is not with the mother or father. It's often with the grandfather or the grandmother. So this is a pattern, right? That entanglement skipping a generation. So that's also something to keep in the back of your mind that you want to look for when you do the healing process. Grandparents are not only showing up as in a family constellation because of an entanglement, but often as a support. Yeah. So the support, especially for the parents, because often the parents are also not still children, right? Remember, your parents been children as well, and they might also had a traumatic experience, and they might as well have an interrupted movement towards the mother or the father as well. So they need their parents too. So this is always good to also put the grandparents into the picture, or at least one represent for the grandparents, and see if there's either an entanglement towards this generation, or excuse me, or they are coming for supporting the second generation. And then we have the ancestors. Remember, in our animation, ancestors are everyone from generation 4 to 7. And we have plenty, 240 of those. And the orders and ancestors, how would that look like? How can you see that? I have not seen a particular order in ancestors. Of course, obviously, everybody who was the generation who brought forth the other generation is coming first. That's sure. But when we are, for example, when we are constellating 7 generations in a row, then of course we have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, right? But when you're working with one ancestor, or with one entanglement in the ancestral lineage, or with one ancestor who is supporting the constellation, then there is no particular order, right? So you don't need to be worried about that. They will show up as an ancestor in whatever generation they might have appeared. And this is the new family constellation. You do not need to know which generation it is. Only if multiple generations show up from ancestors, then you would put them in the right order if they then want to. And we will see that a lot over the course of the training when we have constellations with multiple interrupted movements. Right. When an interrupted movement towards the mother is not the first interrupted movement in the family line, because the mother has one to the grandmother has one to the great-grandmother has one to the great-great-grandmother, and so forth. So these are the situations where we definitely put all generations in line. And then we would start the healing process of movement towards the mother from the latest generation to the youngest. So reversed order. And that will then clear the traumas of all the children in this lineage. The right place of an ancestor is to obey, or when you know, okay, the second orders of love is obeyed here in this constellation, is always behind the other generations, right? So when the ancestor would be in front of the grandparents, for example, or in front of the parents, then this is a hint of an imbalance. And then you have to look for where this is originated. If an ancestor is in his rightful place, it would be behind the last generation that you have represented in the constellation. So how does this all work out in patchwork families? So first of all, the children are all in birth order when they have at least one mutual parent. Yeah, that means siblings and half siblings. If they have one mutual parent, they all go in birth order, or in order of conception if you include the unborn children. New partners come before the previous ones, only then when a child is born. So when you are constellating a family, you're seeing a family, or you are part of a constellation of a family, where one of the, let's say the father is leaving the family to marry or to go with another wife, then he is still part of the, of course he's always part of the family system, but this new partner does not come first. The new partner comes last. Because the new partner enters the family system later. In fact, the new partner is not entering the family system at all, right? It is outside, because former partners are belonging to the family system, not new partners. Because the new partners do nothing to provide for this family system what? The goal to continue to exist. Yeah? So therefore, the new partners are not part of the family system. They, however, create their own family system with the, let's say, the father in this family system when a child is born. Then this child, who was the last born, becomes the first child because they form a new family system. And it makes a lot of more sense, of course, if you can see that, but already this information hopefully makes sense, and you will be able to follow once you see it when it comes up. The new family then comes first because they create a new family system. And this is always a question of from which family member you are working or operating, right? This is always a question. So let's make the example. You are working for a client who is constellating their siblings, including the half siblings, father, mother, and then there is this new partner with a father and a child, right? Then this child is a half sibling, right? Because it's the same father. It's a half sibling. So this child belongs to the family system. The father belongs to the family, not the partner. Right? The new partner does not belong to the family system. However, this child who was born last is not last in the rows of siblings, it's first, because it has created a new system with a new partner. Okay, so this will all make sense once you see it, but it reminds me of a constellation where that was what was I wanted to say? So these the children in this patchwork families, when you are going to constellation, sometimes I have been told, I wasn't there, but I've been told that a facilitator are sometimes drawn to include everybody the client is mentioning. And in patchwork families, they are very used to mention new partners, like they live with them. The new partner is kind of on a daily basis involved. Now they say, okay, now we make a family constellation and we are representing all the imminent family. So please choose somebody for your siblings, your mother, your father, your half sibling, and then she would say, yeah, I have a half sibling. She is younger. She is the daughter from my father with her new partner. Then they said, okay, then place the new partner from your father and the other sibling as well, right? And then they want the sibling be last because it is last born, and the new partner is also there in the family system. This is already not following the orders of love from Bert Hellinger. Just right there, there is a lack of knowledge, and this cannot work because the new partner is not part of the family system and cannot be there, cannot be part of the healing. And when they are focusing then on the new partner, that they, say words and does movements, this is then all not a family concept. It doesn't move the souls. It is just, I don't know, therapy. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So that is the difference. You can only work with people, family members who belong to the family. If you include anybody else, then it's not a family. The bond to the first partners is greater than to the next, even if the love is less. That you see in patchwork families. So remember the conscience, you have a strong bond, and if you break it because you go in a new relationship, there is a feeling of guilt in the partner who's leaving. And you can see that clearly in family constellations. This is why they have never really been able to let go of the bond of the first relationship. And that would be then the hint to help them through that in a family constellation. So then the partners can part and live a better, a fuller life, and the children are not suffering from any issues in the wake of this existing bond still, right? So we are not demonstrating that now because we're working with this all the time. We want to spend the last half hour on the orders in organizations, which is interesting. And I will also use the figurine board to demonstrate that. So first of all, when we say organizations, what is it? Anything, any workplace, any organization in sport, in religion, in government, in countries, like a embassy can be an organization, or a hotel can be an organization, or a hospital, or a private business can be an organization, whatever, whatever you see in the workplace, or a charity organization, or wherever. Everything else that is not a family system. So if you are using the methodology of family constellation in the method of Bert Hellinger for organization, which works brilliantly, you need to know the second order of love, right? Who comes first in order to be able to help them to establish a better environment in their organization and heal some issues, because nobody would come to you to help, to ask you for constellating a organization if there wouldn't be an issue. Obviously that's something going wrong. So the function is the first thing you have to look up. No, the function comes first. The time spent is second. And then the education is third. The responsibility is after the education. And then we look at what the right order is here. So first of all, what did we say? Function. So you look at what is the function of the people working there. And then you look first for the founder, because he or she came first, obviously, right? So the function of the founder is to create this organization. So that is the absolute first one. It's like the ancestors in the family system, right? Without the founder, there would be nothing there. And sometimes it's not the founder alone, it's not a single person, it is the shareholder. Yeah, if it's a limited or a public liability company, then all the shareholders are the founders, if you will, right? Or the owners of this organization. Then, in forms of function, the administration comes before the production. And you might think, that's interesting, but the administration is securing that the production can work, that it can function. Without the administration, production would be chaotic. So the administration is organizing all of this. And the administration is also organizing the sale of the products, if we are talking about products, right? So administration comes before production. Therefore, the administration is placed to the right side of the CEO. The CEO is like the mother, if you will, nourishing, looking after everything, and the administration is like the father on the right side of the CEO. And by the way, while we're at this point, when you are a constellation and organization, in truth, you're always doing a family constellation. It's just that nobody knows it. But everybody in an organization is representing a family member. This is always very interesting if you know that, but your client doesn't know that, of course. So in this case, we would have the administration would be the father and the CEO would be the mother, for example, or the grandfather and the grandmother, or whatever comes up in this constellation. Then after this comes the people doing the actual work. You know, if you're looking at a hospital, then there would be the doctors. If you're looking at a research facility, there would be the researchers. If you're looking at a construction organization, there would be the engineers. If you're looking at a law firm, the lawyers. So they came all after that. Hmm? Then you have to look, because normally you just not have one person within this group, you have several persons. So now you need to find the right, it's like the siblings. No? Now you need find the right order within the group. So the right order in the group is time spent. This is like being born first. Like who had spent the most time in this group? Hmm? So it can be that the administration who comes first is led by a young person. Yeah, that is in order. Hmm? But then when you are looking in the administration itself, and you're looking at the people in the administration, then you have to look who was there the longest. They come before the ones after them. That's pretty similar to the order of birth. So who was there comes first, even if the new department leader has a higher education. So this is always tricky, and a lot of organizations failing there, because the one who is young and comes with a higher education and is leading this group has to work from the place of being the last. He still has the say, but he has to have more respect towards the colleagues who were there longer, and that is often not happening. And then the organization itself is suffering, and that's often where you see actually where you can apply the orders of love to help the owner or the shareholder or the CEO or whoever comes to you with this problem through to clearing this burdens or this problems in the organization. This is often the point where it starts. So we have talked a lot, and I want you to demonstrate an organization, how that looks like as a constellation on the figuring board. And of course, it is much easier when we have an actual organization to look at. So is there anything you can think of, an organization you are part of, that you would like to look at? Hang on. Before I actually share this here, I would just want to remind you, or remind me that I remind you for tomorrow, that you have a photo of your partner there, or your ex-partner if you don't have a current partner. So I stop sharing this screen, and then I share with you the figurines. Here we go. Okie doke. Okay, so what is this? Here we go. So who is part of an organization and is curious to see if there's something going wrong? Hands up. Any kind of organization. Doesn't need to be the workplace, can be a club you're part of, the university. Yes, Rosemary, what do you have?
Maybe our dog trialing club.
Yeah.
And something very interesting happened. I got bullied out of my job.
What was your job?
Secretary treasurer.
Okay. Very good. Very good. That's a very, very good it's not even a demonstration, it's an actual constellation. So let's look at that. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your job and choose some figurines that are representing. Let's start easy. Choose a figurine for yourself.
I take a red female.
This size?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's you. Now, who else is on the board or was on the board?
There is the president.
President? Okay, who is the president here?
I would pick a smaller male, the green one in front. No, yeah, that one.
That one?
Yeah,
That's the president. And then who else?
his wife.
His wife is on the board?
She doesn't have a function, but she's on the board.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so his wife.
And I would pick a really big one.
Well, we have a really big one here.
Yeah.
That's about right. Okay, who else is on the board? How many members are on the board?
Maybe it varies always a little bit. Maybe in total 5.
Okay.
Oh, maybe a little bit more. Yeah.
So,
So then-
at the time when you were bullied out, at the time where you were part of the board, how many?
There's the landowner.
The landowner, yeah. Who's the landowner here? That's a good one.
I pick this one. The light green one there.
The purple.
No, behind. No, to your right. Yeah, no, left. This is left. To your, yeah, that one. No, that one. Yeah.
So that is the landowner.
Yeah.
Okay. And who else?
Then we have life members, 2 life members.
Okay. Yeah. Choose the figurine for them.
Could be anybody.
2 life members, could be anybody. Let's take these 2.
Yeah, sounds good.
And who else? What is about the members?
There are only 3 members. The president and me and one other lady. Yeah.
Ah, okay. Oh, sorry. I have to. What is it? What is this going on here? So 3 members, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 3
One
members.
is me. One is already me.
One is
the
you.
president.
One is the president.
And then there's one more lady. Yeah, one more. She is
One
a
more
member.
lady. Okay. Okay. Let's take her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anybody else? What is the purpose of this club?
We do sheepdog trials.
Yeah.
In a way, we compete. We train dogs, and they will work the sheep. And
Oh,
it's a
okay.
competition. It's a competition.
Okay. And you have founded it? Who was the founder of the
president,
The president alone has founded it.
together with his wife.
Ah, okay. And then you came.
No.
No.
And then all the life members came, and the landowner is there. I come quite at the end,
So you were last.
more or less. The other
Okay.
lady is last. Yeah.
Okay, let's place them on the board. So,
The founder is she, the president, the landowner, and the life members.
so what was that again? This last
She is the wife of the president.
yeah, the wife of the president. Okay, let's take the president first. Gosh, he is small. Oh my gosh. You see this imbalance right there. Okay. Okay. And then how would you place them? Like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Then we have the life
The land,
member.
yeah,
No, the land,
these-
the landowner.
the landowner and the two life members are founders as well.
And where would you put them here on the board?
These three would go together. They would be a group.
And where would
These-
they be?
They can be even closer
Closer to what?
to the other two.
So they are very close to the president,
Yeah. Yeah.
like this,
And yeah. Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then who was this again?
This is the other member. And
This is
but she doesn't play a she is very no, not that close. No, yeah, she is out there. Yeah.
where's she looking? Is she looking at the group or
No, she wouldn't.
she wouldn't look at the group? So
Oh,
where
does
do you,
she?
does she? Or is she rather looking that way?
Yeah, maybe she is looking at the group.
Okay. So, and how about you now? Where are you going?
No, not that close. Yeah, or even further away.
To
Yeah,
this
oh,
side?
yeah, other direction, not behind her.
That side?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you are looking?
Oh, I'm not looking.
No?
No, I'm not looking.
Okay, good. Is this correct now, so?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So first of all, how does it feel for you? What comes up for you now?
Not a lot support. No
Lack of
support.
no support.
Yeah. And she makes me sick just at looking her
Mm-hmm.
from here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So can you see an order there? Just by what you have heard today?
They are all founders, so they should be all first.
Yeah, which is correct, but the imbalance I see here is between him and her.
Yeah.
She's on the right side of him and she's much larger and he's so much smaller.
Yeah.
Hmm?
So what does it tell you?
That looks like an imbalance in the second order of love, which makes the organization not successful. Because the members that we see there, the board is not has no access to strength. It's weakened.
Because she is on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and she's much larger.
They
And
all
she's not even on the board. And she's on the side where you would have the remember the backbone of the organization. That's where she stands. And the backbone of the organization has every member in view, right? It's there for every member, not for one or two. And if they cannot do that, they are not in the right place.
So how should it look like?
So, first of all, we want to see whether there's a movement, yeah? So, I would like now to ask Janet and Farah to represent one of the figurines, yeah? So, Farah, would you like to represent this one, please? Yes? And Janet, this one. Okay? So just unmute your mic, take a breath, and feel into your figurine and the place that you are at, where you are placed. And then tell me what.
I want to face my husband, the CEO. I want to turn in the same position, but turn to face him,
Like this?
to look at him. Yeah, to like I'm talking to him. I'm telling him something in his ear. Yeah,
You want to tell him something.
like
Very
I'm
good.
telling him something. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. And Janet, how's that for you?
I feel like that's so much pressure.
So much pressure. So she is clearly treating her husband as if it would be a child, right?
Yeah.
Janet, say to, what happened if I turn you around here and you're facing her? What happened?
I don't want to.
Okay. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
I
Shall I
want to
move?
stay.
You want to stay
I-
there?
Yeah, I want to stay there, but I don't want to look.
Ah, okay. So that is like a stuck situation, right? So the best thing, Rosemary, you could do here is do exactly what you do. Go walk away.
Yeah, I did that. I did
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because if there is no movement, and that is where it's originated the problem, and if there is no movement, then there is no future. There is no possibility for anybody else to evolve or to develop or do whatever is needed. Yeah. And this is also a group, if you look at them, this group, I don't know if you know how they are at the moment, but they are also very divided. Look, looking in different directions, where this one is. And then this one is also looking somewhere else, right? And then this one is making the impression. Yeah, it's also looking somewhere else, right? So it's all, there's no connection. What is missing here is probably what this is all about, the dogs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what is missing here is a representative for the dogs. Let's take this figurine. Where would you want it? That's the representative for the dogs. Where do you want this figurine?
Not too close to the group.
This way?
Yeah. Yeah.
And which way is the dogs looking?
Oh, no, not there. Anywhere, but not to the group.
Away from the board?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah. Yeah.
like this. So you can see also, can you see the face of the figurine, how she's looking down?
Yeah.
So nobody's looking at the dogs.
Ah,
Nobody's looking at the dogs, and the dogs are kind of looking down, and what comes up is, you go into that, Rosemary, represent this figurine.
I feel sick. I feel sick. Yeah.
The dogs want nothing to have to do with this group, with this organization. This is not a good organization for the dogs, neither.
It really it feels like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is the solution here is that you turn around and say, I leave you with this. You're looking at them, sorry, like this,
Yeah.
and say, I leave you with this.
I leave you with this.
You are not caring for the dogs.
You're not caring for the dogs.
That is your only purpose.
That is your only purpose.
Therefore, I leave you with this. And I walk away.
Therefore, I leave you with this and I walk away. May I say something?
Yeah.
You're right. It's only at the end, it only was personal. It never was about the dogs, about the competitions, never.
Yeah.
And it was, Farah, you made this really, you wanted to talk to him. And this is exactly how it always was. He doesn't say anything. It's always she talks. And it's like Janet said, he feels a little bit maybe scared or whatever, but he doesn't want to leave, and he's too scared to look.
Yeah, look at how small he is. He has no power. He has no power. So from your viewpoint, you can only say, thank you for the experience.
Thank you. Thank you for the experience.
I learned my lesson.
I learned my lesson.
I do my own dog trail club.
I do my own dog trails. Hey, and I have to say, this is exactly how I feel.
See? So this is the figurine for your own dog trail club. Put them here with the dogs. Look over there. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
It's a good idea.
Say yes.
Yes.
I'm coming.
I'm coming.
Very good. Okay, we leave it here and come to the end of today's teaching content. Are there any questions? Shall we go through?
I have two questions.
Okay.
One is, you said you have, or how to honor the bond between or with the mother, how to honor a bond. What, how do you do that?
You honor her by releasing her from your own expectations.
From my expectations.
Yeah.
Okay.
From all the stories, what she should do or not should done, what she has done or not has done, and just honor that she gave life and supported your life, and that was all she ever needed to do.
Okay. Second question. was with father children or mother daughter or whatever, to let go. Who does have to let go? The child or the parent?
Both. That does not mean that the love will always flow. The love is not that what lets go, because it's unconditional. The letting go is a dependency on the neediness of each other. The neediness of the adult child, of the parents, and the neediness of the parents of the to have the children too often to to give them meaning in life. Mm. So the greatest gift is the gift of freedom.
As a parent, as a parent.
As a parent and as a child. Yeah. The child is adult, obviously, in this scenario, not the child. The adult child, the grown-up child, if you will.
Yeah.
Good.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Anything else? Yes, Farah.
I have a question. When we're doing constellations and we fix an entanglement in one constellation, and the family soul in that sense is healed. How do I fix this? So let's say I do it with my mom, and I fix that, or the entanglements are fixed and everything is in order. Does that mean that for her sister, the family soul, the healing is experienced by everyone who's in that constellation, or is it only my mom whose family soul is healed and therefore she can move forward? Am I making sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So the healing movement is always within the whole family system. It is like a ripple. Like when you throw a rock into the lake, you see these ripples.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same. So you throw the rock in the water, that is like the healing movement between you and your mother, right? This is immediate. This is what throws the rock in the water. Now the ripples are the healing movements towards everybody else in the family system. That does not even need to be represented at the constellation, right? So it is just a general healing and a relief of the family system by one of the wounds or burdens that it has carried, which brings more peace and more freedom to each family member. Sometimes subtle, very subtle, sometimes more obvious, to some more obvious than to others. But the ripple, so everybody can, so the whole family system is in this movement forward. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Okay. When there's nothing else, then I say goodbye for today. And I love to see you in 21 hours again. And don't forget to bring a photo of your partner or your ex-partner. Or your dream partner if you never had a partner.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.